100 days inside of hardcore Minecraft. After over 80 hours of recording and editing, I'm so excited to show you all my journey inside of Minecraft's most difficult game mode. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the movie. Day 1 began like any other Minecraft day. I explored a little and then immediately started deforesting all the land in my world for some wooden tools. I didn't waste any time though and began mining cobblestone for some upgraded equipment, and afterwards I headed back up to the surface and slaughtered some innocent bystanders for my own personal gain. I found another enticing cave though and gathered myself some more iron, but not without having to face the bow-wielding protesters. They were no match for me and my mighty shield though. And later on I stumbled into my very first village, which had loads of bookshelves waiting for me, so I went ahead and borrowed them all. It seems karma isn't real though, as I found an actual god apple in a desert temple. As nighttime was approaching, I accidentally walked in on this guy sleeping, so I decided I'd sleep on the streets to end day 1. In the morning of day 2, I harvested loads of materials and then decided it was time once again to go caving. It wasn't very long though before I got into this pretty intense cliffside fight with a literal goat and skeleton crossbreed. Thankfully I came out victorious though, and after a bit more iron collecting, I finally called it quits and headed back up to the surface. I didn't actually realize it was nighttime though, so after taking on a surprise spider, I just went to sleep in the middle of a random field. Day 3 started terribly. I got visited by a wandering trader, also known as 2 free leads. I spent a lot of day 3 just trying to look for iron golems to kill for some extra iron. I also stumbled across a few desert temples and decided to take everything that I could. Soon after, I began feeling a little lonely, so I returned to the plains biome where I first began and got myself a friend. We travelled together for a while and then I finally discovered the location in which I was going to build my compound. I already had so many ideas. My inventory was overflowing at this point, so day 4 began with some much needed organisation. I also later realised that my horse wasn't secured, so I tied him to a nearby fence. I spent some time farming wood, smelting some of my riches up inside of my furnaces and flattening out my land in preparation for some exciting building ideas. By sunset I had the bright idea of trying to edit my nearby terrain. It was just a little cliff edition, but I think it actually ended up looking very nice. On day 5 I woke up and chose violence. The Endermen were my next victim. I say victim, this guy almost killed me. I was pretty scared. But it was time for some mesa exploration, and before long I found a sharpness 5 book in a minecart chest. After storing it away, I decided exploring via boat would be more effective, so I set off once again to try and find some spruce wood. I collected just enough and then found a strange igloo basement. Later on I found yet another igloo and decided to use the bed inside to skip the night. Day 6 started with me laying claim to all the hay bales in nearby villages so I could make a cow farm when I returned home. I wasn't done quite yet though and found some melons and even more bookshelves, which are always very useful. Soon after I found another victim, I mean village, which had even more riches for me to steal. And finally a bell. This would be perfect for my compound. By day 7 I was still on the move, but instead of raiding villages I upgraded to desert temples. My luck wasn't the best on this day sadly, but I did pick up some diamond horse armor. However, this did make me realize something. Is my horse now richer than me? On day 8 it was more of the same. But by this point my inventory was overflowing with bones and gunpowder, but I guess it will come in handy in the future when I need some fireworks. And by this point I had to get myself some new wheels. I hope my other horse doesn't find out. But while the sun was setting, I fell asleep on the side of a desert temple. In the morning I raided that same temple, but it was pretty poor, and in the next temple I got jumped by 2 creepers who were hiding in the corner. Without the shield I could have been toast. The loot wasn't too special though, and my inventory was so full I couldn't even hold bones anymore. I then found a nearby plains village and took all of their bookshelves, because you can never have enough books in Minecraft. Oh, and I'd love to read. After trying to go across a river with my horse, I realised it wasn't a boat, so I sadly ditched it there and used a real boat to head back home. I'm sorry. After storing away my riches, I set out on day 10 to find myself some diamonds. I mined all the way down into a massive ravine, which actually led into an even bigger one. I decided to stay in the caves though, and after collecting iron and gold, I took on this enderman which almost ended my life. I was literally shaking at this point, but I somehow survived and even got an ender pearl. On day 11 I found my first mineshaft, but this creeper didn't want me there. I spent a while just exploring and mining iron because there was so much for me to see. Soon after I stumbled across this amethyst geode, but it was a little bit of a trap, so I played it carefully and got right out of there. I was now strip mining for diamonds though, but my luck was awful and all I could get was redstone and iron, as you can pretty clearly see from my inventory. On day 12 while strip mining, I uncovered my very first diamonds in this world. And not only that, but it was a massive 8 vein. Finally, I continued on in the same fashion and found even more diamonds soon after. I now had 14 diamonds in total, and that's over halfway to full armor. At that point, it was mission successful, so I decided to return home. Day 13 began with a child attack, 2 of them to be precise, but thankfully these little guys weren't too hard to deal with. After mining I had loads of ore to be smelted, so I decided to construct an awesome compact auto smelter. It took me a while to finally construct, and after redoing the pistons 3 or 4 times the minecarts were finally in place. The final step was just to put all the fuel into the furnaces, and then it was finally done and time to smelt up my ores. And on day 14 it was time to enchant, so I went out to gather some valuable obsidian for my enchantment table. After placing it down I wanted to try get fortune 3 on my pickaxe, but all it gave me was efficiency and unbreaking. With no fortune I was a sad man, so I spent the rest of the day carving out my beach and making it look pretty. I then put down all of my sugarcane for a makeshift farm because I thought I might need it in the future. On day 15 I spent most of the day creating a melon and pumpkin farm because I can. And then I created a nether portal and headed inside. This was my first time in the nether in this world, and for now I just mined quartz for some XP. I also traded with some piglins and they gave me quite a few ender pearls. The ghast didn't like me though, and I was starting to get scared by this point, so I just headed back home. Day 16 I'm out here breaking furnaces for some more XP to enchant my pickaxe again. I was unlucky though and got unbreaking 3, but on my third try it finally told me I was guaranteed fortune, so I went straight back into the nether to get back to level 30. I finally enchanted it, and man I was so hyped I went straight to the caves to test it out on some iron. By day 17 I was back in the strip mines getting myself loads of valuables. This fortune 3 was amazing. I was so stacked at this point, but I still haven't found many diamonds, but it didn't bother me because I had so much lapis lazuli. For day 18 I set myself the goal of collecting loads of diamonds, and it started off pretty well. I also found a cool ravine which had quite a few waiting for me. After getting 32 diamonds though, I decided it was time to finally return home. And on day 19 it was upgrade time. I spent the morning crafting up full diamond armor and tools. I got a pretty bad enchant on my sword though, and then expanded my small storage area. I also got myself another friend on this day. Meet Winty, I'll be using him for all my snowy needs. Since I expanded my storage area yesterday, I started moving around my valuables because I wanted to try stay organized. I also harvested my makeshift sugarcane farm for the first time and tried my best to create a little path going up my hill. I'm not gonna lie, I think I did pretty well. Day 21 began with some more enchanting, and then I made a massive spruce tree which annoyingly poisoned my grass. Chopping it down took ages though, but at least I've got enough spruce to last me a while. I was in the nether now and got chased away by this angry piglin. I swear, all I wanted was some quartz, man. Day 22 and I finally got myself looting 3 on my sword. So I travelled to the nearest nether fortress and killed some blazes. I wanted loads of blaze rods so I could brew potions and get myself ender eyes for the end fight. After collecting 20 rods, I screenshotted the coordinates of this spawner and then went looking for danger. Speaking of danger though, while killing this blaze I accidentally hit the pigman, and to avoid attracting others I sadly had to take him out. Day 23 was far more peaceful though, and I spent most of the day just collecting quartz for some XP levels because I wanted to be shiny. I also found a warped forest for the first time, and wow, it's a pretty place. A nearby Soul Sand Valley also had loads of bones for me, but this guy wasn't too happy about it, and finally by the end of the day I got the hot tourist achievement. Day 24 and I stumbled across a bastion. I went straight to stealing their gold and the piglin brutes were pretty angry. I was playing it safe because this guy could literally kill me instantly. And after tunneling my way in, I looted all the chests I could find, and in the second chest I found my first netherite scrap. It's not much, but it's honest work. And after tunneling out, I set on the mission of trying to find my way back home. It definitely was not a very enjoyable trip. On day 25 I found a nether fortress right near my portal, and since I still needed nether ore, I went inside to try find some. It ended up having enough to last me a lifetime, and then I returned home to store my valuable netherite before using my XP on my armor. I managed to enchant half my armor on this day, so success. Day 26 I decided it was time to finally find that stronghold. I didn't want to fight the dragon quite yet, but it was inevitable. Once I was above it, I put my beloved horse in a hole and began searching for it. And there it was. I had found one of the libraries, and after destroying that, I went and found the end portal. Man, those silverfish were annoying, so I spent a while killing them and then improved the general look of the room. On day 27, I discovered the second library, but it had no floor. And then after finding my last ender pearl, I lit up the portal in preparation for my end fight. I placed down my nether portal and then began mining out a path which would give me easy access to the stronghold at any time. Day 28 was Ender Dragon Preparation Day. I crafted a god bow, got a pumpkin hat and even an anvil, as I planned to immediately go hunting for elytras after the fight. But it was time, so I set off into the nether, but not before getting myself into more trouble. While expanding my path, I almost burnt myself to death. Whoops. Hope the dragon didn't see that. But anyways, I was finally here at the portal. On day 29, I was ready as ever, so I jumped into the portal not knowing what to expect. I immediately began shooting crystals out and even gathered myself some dragon's breath for the achievement. Right now, it looks like I've got good aim, but I cut out the other 10 minutes of misses. But by this time, all the crystals were down, and it was time to finally switch my focus onto the dragon. She was so close to falling and then flew away, but I styled on the dragon for the final shot and there it was, the dragon egg. I didn't waste no time though and went straight for the end cities in hope of an elytra. I immediately saw a boat and headed straight for it. After taking down a few shulkers, there it was, my first elytra. After equipping it, I decided to go home to craft up some fireworks. Day 30 and I was already back out in the end on a mission for shulkers and some more good gear. I immediately found this chest plate, but it had Curse of Binding, so I set off once again in search of another end city. I was flying for quite a while and flew over 3,000 blocks I think before ever finding one. But there it was, my second elytra and a bunch of overpowered gear. So after storing away my pretty impressive loot, I decided I'd take an ender chest for myself and then found even more diamonds. It was time to head home with my riches though, so I did and then went to bed to end day 30. Day 31 began with lighting up a bit of my compound and then I stored away all of the loot I got from the end cities. I also decided to combine my pickaxe with one I found in the cities and then just farm sugarcane for a few minutes. It was time to path up my compound though, so after finding a pattern I liked, I started implementing it. And then I decided this little sand island would be perfect for some cows. Day 32 and the island was beginning to take shape. I didn't have any grass though, so dirt would have to suffice for now. And once it was all filled in, I removed the outer sand ring and even added a tropical beach for the cows. I'ma treat these guys right. Once the island was surrounded in fences, I tried making it look a little fancy with some logs, and I was pretty happy with how it turned out. I then ticked off the cow farm objective on the board and added a load of new ones like fighting the wither and making more farms. Day 33 and it was time to gather some prisoners, but I think there's an imposter among us. In the nether now on the search for some wither skulls so I can fight the wither boss. My luck was on dreams level though, and it only took me about 30 wither skeletons to get 3 skulls, with the last 2 wither skeletons both dropping skulls for me. I guess this makes up for my awful luck with pickaxe enchants. On day 34 I returned home to prepare for the wither fight. But I wasn't going to take him on the regular way, no, far too scary for now. I'm going to cheese it by basically just trapping him under the end portal. So after placing the last wither skull, he was there, at my mercy screaming for help, so I used my newly enchanted god sword to take him down, and retrieve that infamous nether star. After picking it up, I ran home like a little kid who just finished school and crafted up my very first beacon. Once it was placed down, I felt like the most powerful person in the world, and I guess I was on my own, so I was. But by the end of day 34, I was luring a zombie villager over to the compound to try and get a mending book trade. And after a lot of deliberation, he finally got in, but his buddy wasn't very happy with me. Day 35, and after doing a little breeding session with my cow friends, it was time to do my once in a blue moon potato harvest. I spent most of day 35 just trying to get this guy to give me some damn mending trades, but there it was finally. 1 emerald for 1 mending book. And what would a 100 days video be without some capitalism? In return, I decided to spruce up his cell, but he took this the wrong way and began to make a run for it. So I just led him bed to think about what I'd done. On day 36, I got this guy back in his hole, which I thought was looking really pimped out now. No compound is fit without walls though, so that's what I did for most of day 36. I wanted to make the walls look a little natural, both made out of stone and stone brick. It's a good start, but at this point I realized I was going to need an XP farm, so I began farming all the resources I'd need to build myself an Enderman spawner. I continued shearing leaves on day 37 because I'd need a lot for this farm. Once I had roughly a full shulker of leaves, it was time to gather some of the other resources I'd need to make a full enchanting setup in the end. I made sure to take all the essentials like water buckets and then spent the rest of the day just doing some capitalism with my mending boy. This guy must really like me because his trades are just so insane. Thank you, buddy. Day 38 and it was time to construct a sheep enclosure. It's not much, but the sheep seemed to like it enough. This wouldn't go to waste though, as I'd eventually be using a lot of this wool for carpets in my Enderman farm, and I'm sure something else in the future. I didn't need any specific coloured wool though, so I just went ahead and sheared all of my sheep. But by nightfall I decided I wanted a map of my compound, so that's what I did. When I woke up on day 39, it was time to create my map wall, and then I headed straight off to the end and began bridging out to create my Enderman farm. We're going to ignore the fact I almost just fell into the void, but anyways, without further ado, it's time for a good old time lapse. Day 40 and the Enderman farm was finally finished. All I had to do now was remove the torches and watch chaos ensue. This farm has got to be the best thing in Minecraft, and if you're looking for the design, I believe Nembom built the original one. I wanted to try and get a god sword with sweeping edge on it for this Enderman farm, so after combining up a bunch of swords I had stored away, there it was. Now I can literally get level 30 in like 30 seconds of farming. I spent most of day 41 just slaying Endermen and combining my armor with some of the armor I found in the end cities to make myself a literal god. By this point my armor was pretty much fully maxed out, so I perfected my bow, enchanted a few books, and after combining a mending and unbreaking book, I decided I'd just smack it onto my shield for a little upgrade simply because I can. And don't even ask me why I made a god crossbow, I don't know. My cows were not very pleased to see me on day 42, but it was breeding time, guys! And after collecting all of those leaves for the XP farm, the forest looked a little malnourished, so I just finished the job. And I will not make another capitalism joke to end off day 42. Day 43 now, and since I had defeated both the Ender Dragon and the Wither, I felt as if it was finally time to begin some farms for some items I'd need for future projects. First up, however, was the villager farm, and I thought this hill would be perfect. So I went ahead and spent the rest of the day just flattening out in preparation for the villagers. Day 44 started with a visit to the nearby village in order to steal 2 of their people. Thankfully, all it took was 1 boat ride to get each of them home, and then after making a pretty makeshift enclosure, they voluntarily stepped into the minecarts, unaware of their pretty bleak future. Honestly, it wasn't even too much of a hassle, which is pretty surprising. Thankfully, the villagers survived the night, so in the morning of day 45 I farmed some carrots up since I was going to need food for the breeder. And while building up this pretty simple breeder design, I realised it actually wasn't automatic, but that's fine. We'll upgrade it one day, but not before mining out this massive hole. This farm would basically work by holding all of the baby villagers in the corner, and then once they grow up, they'll float down the stream and fall into the hole I just made. And after finishing the roof, I decided to call it a day. And then on day 46, it was finally time to transport these villagers into their forever home, a glass box. Thankfully, there wasn't much protest, so after breaking the minecarts, all we had to do was place all of the beds around the edge, and then the farm was operational and ready for use. Day 47 began with some more bed crafting though, because I wasn't happy with how many we had, since the more babies we want, the more beds we need. Simple maths, guys. And after building up a wall around the bed, it was time to farm even more carrots. I was going to need quite a lot for these two. They look pretty hungry. And speaking of villagers, it was time for some more capitalism. On day 48, I was off into the end. I wanted to try get enough levels in order to craft up a god rod, because I'd need some fish. What do I need fish for, you ask? Well, you'll find out. Day 49 and I was back breaking sugarcane. Never forget your roots, my people. And after giving my prisoners their allowance, I decided to put my fishing rod to good use. I spent the rest of day 49 just fishing. Yep. Literally just fishing. And sadly, I didn't catch anything interesting, but all I needed was some fish, which I got plenty of. I was nervous on day 50 because it was time to return to the village from which I just stole 2 people. But either way, I tamed myself 3 cats and then brought them home. While I'm breeding them, I think it's important I tell you guys that these little ones are not going to be our pets. But either way, I decided to go explore my nearby jungle since I hadn't been there yet, but I found nothing anyways, so I took my anger out on some creepers. By day 51, I was finished exploring and stored away some of the beehives I had collected. And on return to my compound, I spotted my villager being swarmed by pillagers, so I swooped in as fast as I could and saved the day. Whew, that was a close one, but of course I started a raid since my compound did technically have a villager now. After a mild panic attack, I finally killed the first evoker and got my very first totem of undying. This eased the nerves though, because I was practically invincible at this point. So I then continued on with the raid and eventually got myself the Hero of the Village achievement. Right to the rescue once again. I didn't really feel safe living out in the open like this, so on day 52 I began mining out what would become my bulk storage room. Day 53, and the room was pretty much all dug out, with just some polishing and shaping to do. I wanted to make this room look like it was carved inside of a cave, so I went about terraforming the edges for most of day 53, and once I was happy with the shape, I trapped yet another zombie villager in my compound. On day 54, I returned to my storage room once again and began constructing the window so I could watch the ocean sunset at any time. I'll be using these deep slate blocks a lot in this 100 days because they just look so good. I then experimented with a diorite floor, but Iskall was right, this sucks. So on day 55, I set out to gather a load of spruce wood to try and create a nice cozy floor for my storage room build. I wanted to create a pattern sort of thing and decided stripping the log made it look amazing, so that's what I settled on. And for the rest of the day, I just finished up the entirety of the floor. On day 56, it was back to the sugarcane farm, but not for long because I had to collect some more spruce in order to construct some paths. And since the room was all dug out now, I wanted to get the storage area in as soon as possible. I settled on a design and after finishing it, I was pretty damn proud of myself. Since this was bulk storage though, I put hoppers in so that items would always flow into the bottom chest. And after some finishing touches and assigning blocks to chests, I was finally finished. Day 57 began with the construction of an arch to give the entrance to my storage area a little bit more of an inviting look. And after a while, I finally found a look I liked. Can you guys tell I'm pretty picky when it comes to this kind of stuff? Once I had moved some items in though, I managed to finish off the roof of the cave, but it was time to add a new objective. Become rich. And I then began mining out this mystery hole. What would it become? Guesses in the comments. On day 58, I wanted to make this killing chamber look at least a little peaceful, so I decorated it. And if you couldn't tell already, this is gonna be a creeper farm. I couldn't decide on a design I liked though, so I just ended up going to sleep. And in the morning of day 59, I constructed what I had in mind. There wasn't much room, but I wanted to fit in as many chests as possible. And after a few tweaks, I was finally happy with the final product, so I got into constructing what would actually kill the creepers: campfires. But for the rest of day 59, I randomly had the bright idea of randomizing the block pattern inside of my cave, and I was actually pretty proud with how it turned out looking. I went around and added slabs and stairs as well for some extra shape and detail, and I wanted to sleep, but not before making one last change to the gunpowder storage area. I watched the sun rise on day 60, but this guy kind of ruined it. In preparation for my creeper farm, I needed loads of cats, so I bred them once again. I also found this guy in my compound, so I gave him a spacious home and named him Bill. Don't get too attached though. And in the evening of day 60, I travelled to the end to collect some endstone. Day 61 began with some good old sugarcane farming, and since I needed carpets for my gunpowder farm, I flew around and sheared some more wild sheep. I also noticed I was running out of rockets, and with no creeper farm built yet, I had to try and collect gunpowder somehow. So I spent 10 or so minutes just farming wild creepers. I was ready to build once again on day 62, and with the killing chamber now all complete, it was time to begin work on the actual creeper spawn rooms. I ended up having to follow a tutorial for this farm because I didn't want to get it wrong, but that did mean it took me a little longer than usual. Once the outline was all down, all I needed to do was fill in the walls, and I know this looks ugly right now, but in future I'll be sure to make it look beautiful. Day 63 now, and it was time to place in all of these trapdoors. Once I was finally finished with one side, I wanted to breed up all of my cats for one last time. Go on guys, just do your thing. I also needed a little more wood for the trapdoors, so I mined one more giant spruce tree. And on day 64, it was time to put our beloved cats into their new forever home, where they'll be staying for, forever. Make yourself feel at home, guys. This eyesore was already getting on my nerves though, so I went ahead and added some texture to the walls using stone. And once both the pillars and all the texturing was done, it was starting to look at least a little bit better. There is still a long way to go though. Day 65 began with the second floor of the creeper farm, and to do that I had to fill in the roof, which took a while because I had to keep getting resources. But eventually it was time for the second layer of trapdoors, and I definitely had enough wood this time round. And afterwards I had to introduce the last two prisoners to their new lifestyle. They seemed pretty happy about it. So I filled in the roof once more and then built up 120 blocks above the farm to build the AFK room. And all that was left to do was to destroy the pillar. And then I spent pretty much all of day 66 just AFKing to test out the creeper farm. And on day 67 I went down in hopes of seeing my rewards, but the farm wasn't working. Thankfully, all I had to do was destroy the AFK room and move it down 5 or so Y levels. Once again, I built out a glass platform and put in extra effort this time to make it look a little more pretty. I didn't want it to be another eyesore. Work on the new AFK room continued into day 68, with me finishing off the roof and providing a little landing pad, since this only had elytra access for now. Apparently, if you do what this sign says, you get good luck for a year. This sign is also cool, I guess. But subscribe. And now all I needed to do was test out the farm by AFKing one more time. Day 69, and I was really sure that the farm was working now, so I went ahead and watched some YouTube videos while I AFK'd all the way through day 70 and 71. A few YouTube videos later, I eventually came back on day 72 to check whether I had just wasted the past 4 days. Finally, it was working, and I even got to see it in action. Poor little guy. But it was time to utilize this gunpowder, so I got myself a bunch of fireworks and then stored them inside of my brand new boombox, which was going to come with me everywhere. Day 73, and I thought it was time to secure the entrance to my storage cave. I also changed a few things around to make it look a lot better. After placing down that last button, my headquarters were finally secured, and being extra cautious, I decided to fill in the window as well. Now we're really safe. And of course I didn't forget about my cows, but something still smells pretty sus in here. Anyways, I wanted to use carpet in my storage room, so I found a pattern I liked and implemented it. And on day 74, I put down my Ender Dragon egg in the corner for all to see and gave the head an ocean view. I'm too kind. While exploring, I found this single coral reef thing and decided to take it all home. I also somehow found my way into a water cave and swam with all of these axolotls. And after digging down randomly, I just found diamonds. I don't even know, man. But with fortune, I managed to get 10 diamonds, which is a nice addition to my collection. And later on, I found some more while I was just collecting coal. I clearly woke up lucky today. Day 75 and I instantly found diamonds inside of a mine shaft. If you can't tell by this point, I was on a massive mining mission to fulfill that become rich objective and nothing could stop me. I was uncovering even more diamonds on day 76, this time a 4 vein. I'm going to build a diamond beacon one day, I tell you. Anyways, the more I strip mined, the more diamonds I got, and throughout the end of day 76 it was just more of the same. I also stored away all of the blocks I mined because I'd need them pretty soon. Day 77 was going to be my last day in the mine, so I had to make the most of it. And for now I'd have to mine all the iron I can find because I still don't have an iron farm quite yet, which is something I definitely want to start building in the near future. Once I was satisfied with what I had mined, I tried cramming all my valuables into my shulkers. Day 78 began with me returning to the surface. I miss that sky. Once I got home I filled up the furnaces with some fresh coal and then it was time to smelt up all of the ores I collected in the mines. And it was a lot. I definitely had enough iron to last me at least a good while. I collected an axolotl as well in the mines and named him Axolesl. I forgot to tell you guys, but Bill was dead, so I just put Axolesl's aquarium in his place. And at night I tried getting a crossbow achievement but failed miserably. And just to add insult to injury, on day 79, after seeing the phantoms burn, this creeper snuck up on me and took me down to half a heart. I mean, I had a totem, but anyways, I lit up my storage room for a little bit and then it was time to decorate the creeper farm. Day 80 and my creeper farm roof still needed some additions, so after planting some bamboo I got straight back to work and decided spruce would look nice as the other colour. I wanted to give the roof some shape as well, so I made it curve around like some kind of wizard house and then even added some small windows for that extra detail. I think it worked pretty well. So by nighttime I was out shooting phantoms once again, but this time I was surprisingly successful and finally got the 2 birds 1 hour achievement done and out of the way. That took far too long, but I never have to think about it again. On day 81 we had a newly converted villager in the compound and I tried all morning to get an unbreaking through trade, which he eventually gave me. So of course I went ahead and instantly abused him for it. After crafting up a bunch of beds, I extended our villager farm by placing them down. I also added a welcome sign to what was now the operation center of my compound. After creating a secure entrance to my creeper farm, I also added a warning sign to anyone who passes. I'm not trying to get sued, guys. Day 82 and I was collecting gravel from the ocean for some more paths in my compound. I wanted it to all be like an actual village. I dug the path out all the way to the villager farm and then used my classic road pattern to fill it all in. I added coarse dirt around the edges as well, just to be a bit extra, and I think it really brought the whole path together. What do you guys think of my amazing path? Let me know in the comments, I want to hear your opinion. Day 83 was spent making some final additions to the newly built paths. This compound is really starting to come together if you ask me, but don't worry, I still have so many ideas for this place. I was already running out of fireworks though, so I AFK'd my creeper farm all the way from day 84 till day 90. Day 91 I returned from my hiatus to loads of gunpowder and then headed off to the end to enchant my shovel. After repairing all of my mending gear for about 5 minutes, I headed to the nearby desert biome to grab myself a few shulkers of sand. I was going to need a ton of sand for this upcoming project. Also, this Forza zombie and his father gave me a little bit of a scare, I will admit, so I just decided I'd be better off skipping the night. Back in the desert for day 92, and after a while I had collected a full shulker and a bit of sand, and it was time to craft up some TNT and head to the nether. It was netherite time, baby. After placing and exploding the first row of TNT, I uncovered my very first netherite. This was just the beginning though, and 2 minutes later I found my second vein while mining a new tunnel. Day 93 began with some more netherite, and a bit more netherite. Even more netherite. Even more netherite. And after amassing a total of 27, I decided I would go home to smelt it all up. I'm not sure why, but I just farmed bamboo for the rest of the day, don't even ask me. Day 94, it was time to upgrade our armor with the newly collected netherite. We're beginning to enter the big leagues now, guys. And after all my armor was upgraded, I finally got myself the Cover Me in Debris achievement. Guys, I am no longer some kind of diamond peasant. I am a powerful netherite man. Treat me as such. I had some extra netherite as well, so I upgraded some of my weapons and a couple of my tools. There was one last thing this compound needed though, and that was a longer wall. So I began building up more of the stone wall in the evening. I was happy with the progress I was making, and after finishing up a bit more of the path, I decided to finally call it a night. After waking up on day 95, I yawned and then finished off the edge of my beautiful path, which connected the compound to my nether portal. It's also nearing 100 days now, so I flew up to see what we had accomplished so far, and I was pretty damn proud of how this place was looking from the air. After finishing the path to the melon and pumpkin farm, I decided to deforest the rest of the trees around the compound. Sadly, in Minecraft, trees is the one odd case in which destroying them is far harder than creating them, so it took me all day to do about 50% of the forest. Day 96 and I extended our carrot farm in all directions to make it reach right up to the path. And I also got the bright idea of creating these mini tree bush things, so I went ahead and built about 20 of them just surrounding the paths inside the compound. I just felt as if this place needed some more lush features. I also fixed up the torch grid so I could actually feel properly safe. I went the whole way around the surrounding area with these torches, which would actually help the creeper farm in the long run, I think. All of the cows were trying to make it pretty damn hard for me though. I wasted away day 97 by spending the entire day just extending the torch grid. This place had to be safe. Only 3 days away from day 100 now, and I was still extending our stone brick wall to make it go all the way around the outside of my compound. For now, this wall was just going to be stone brick without any stone, but in the future I'll probably change it. However, for right now, all I wanted to do was get the entire wall down. I made it the wall twist all the way around our big mountain so that literally nothing can get in now. We've got the ultimate defense, height. And just before going to sleep, I made sure to fit in some final changes to perfect the wall. On day 99, I finished it by adding some supports and a cliffside fence. And even though I was running out of cobble, I linked up my compound path to the viewing area. Can't forget that coarse dirt path outline though, guys. We cannot leave any part of this compound barren. So I added some more shrubbery to the path near the viewing area and then went around the entire compound placing a bunch of bone meal because there's nothing flowers can't fix. After I pretty much covered my entire compound in flowers and grass, it was time to fly into the sky once again to get a nice aerial view of all of my beautiful creations. Remember, there is so much still to do in this compound and I was nowhere near done. But for the last time in these first 100 days, I visited my operation center and watched the sunset of day 99. Because just like this view, the achievement of surviving 99 days in hardcore Minecraft was pretty special to me. It was now day 100 Eve, and before going to sleep I said goodnight to the real OG Winty. And then after catching up with all of my villagers, I headed to bed in anticipation for the 100th day in my hardcore world. Day 100, we have made it and I'm so proud of how far we've come. I want to thank you all for watching my first 100 days in hardcore Minecraft. If you want to see 200 days in this world, then give this video a like. If there's enough support, I will see what I can do because there are so many more things I want to get done in this world.